Yo, what's going on, guys? Yeah, just wanted to make a video talking about the M8 Softail Deluxe. A couple things. Well, there's a lot to love about this bike, and there's one thing that is just kind of sucks, really. It has nothing to do with the bike itself, but more or less, well. We'll talk about it. Let's start the bike up. We'll go for a ride, and we'll talk about the one thing that sucks. So yeah, we're going to talk about the 2018 to 2020, which in 2020 is the last year they made the Softail Deluxe, and yeah, it's a real bummer that they don't make these anymore. Which actually has a lot to do with the one thing that sucks. So yeah, so when I was buying this bike, I knew I wanted to do a lowrider, Chicano, B-Class-style, build with this, obviously, like most people do. They just look so good, man. And yeah, so I've always wanted this bike. I just think the Deluxe, the Softail Heritage, and even the Road King, is just like three of the best looking bikes ever made. And especially the Deluxe, it's more of a clean, slimmed down version of all of them. And there's just so much you can do with these bikes. So yeah, when I was buying this bike, I was kind of debating whether to get the... Now here's the thing, when I was buying this bike, there's one thing that I just absolutely wanted, and that's cruise control. I'm a little spoiled ever since I had my 2023 Lowrider S. It was the first bike I ever had cruise control on, and I just used it so much for so many different things. Cruising down the highway, you want to give your throttle hand a rest. You get that throttle fatigue. And so I just fell in love with having cruise control. It's just such a nice feature to have. And so when I was buying this thing with the 103, the twin cam ones, I think it's 2016 was the first year they came out with the throttle by wire. So a wire throttle or electronic throttle, which is something I was, that was, if I was going to get the twin cam model, that would be the one I would go through, or either one of those years is the 2016 or 2017 model. Just so I can get the cruise control put on. And so I'm doing more and more research, between the M8s, starting from 2018, what was the difference? And there just was so many nice additional updated features about the 2018 or the M8 models, right? The new chassis, better lean angle, better handling overall, for higher speeds. I mean, there's just, the whole thing was just more balanced, right, from, starting with the M8. And then not only that, the biggest thing is you have the Milwaukee 8 engine, which is going to give you the 107, so you get more, a bit more torque and horsepower, but also cooler, so the engine's going to run a lot cooler. And I actually love the M8, platform, or the, this engine. They're just really nice. And, I've had Evos, I've had twin cams, the whole thing, and the M8 really is superior in a bunch of different ways. Now, there's, of course, a ton of things to just absolutely love about the twin cam, man. The sound of it, I mean, it's one of the best sounding motors ever made. Although I do think the 1200 Evo with some great Vance and Hines pipes on it, I mean, that's just one of my favorite sounds, but twin cams are just amazing. So yeah. So anyway, so that's the thing that's what I was going back and forth with, was, you know, those are some of the things I was looking at. Now, the one thing I just didn't know about, and this is the one thing that sucks, about the M8 models, is because they only made them for 2 years. It is just such a pain in the ass. I mean, really, you don't have a lot of options when it comes to parts, especially from Harley Davidson. There's just so many nice looking things out there, and a lot of people just only make them for the 2017 and lower years, you know, the twin cam models basically. And that is the shittiest thing about owning the M8 version of the Deluxe, and it's something I did not know about when I purchased this model. And would I still purchase it? Yeah, probably, like I said, because the chassis is just so much better. It's faster. It handles, you know, overall just a lot better than the twin cam models. And but yeah, I did not know that there was just going to be that big of a lack of parts, you know, for these models. And let me break it down to you, like, to give you an idea of what I'm talking about. And this is mostly from Harley Davidson. Yeah, a lot of other third-party manufacturers, like part manufacturers and stuff too. But take, for example, the gauge here, right? Or the, whatever you want to call this, instrumentation, or, you know, speedometer. I actually prefer, now, yeah, this is actually a really nice gauge. Or instrument cluster here. It's really nice. The only thing is I actually prefer attack instead of the speed. I don't really care about seeing, you know, how fast I'm going. I usually a digital readout's good enough for me. So I'd prefer to have attack. I care about that a little bit more. Now with Harley, I didn't even think twice to check that out, right? So I go on the Harley website, which Harley website is actually just a crap piece of crap, that website. But that's a talking point for another day. But anyways, I start looking up gauges for this thing, and there's no gauges. You can't get any other gauges from this thing. And I'm thinking, like, okay, well, it's a 5-inch gauge. You know, it's supposed to, you know, a lot of the 4 inches that I like, but there's a few 5-inch gauges that I like that work for the Softail Heritage, even, like, you know, the new ones, and that also work for the bikes like the Road King and whatnot, that also take 5-inch gauges, you know, in the center console. And yeah, they just don't make them. They don't make gauges for this thing. And I started researching, like, okay, well, sometimes there are things on the Harley website that say they don't fit, but they actually can fit. And this, I'm wondering, it's like the plug they use underneath, so you'd have to splice out the wires to put a different adapter in there. So it may fit, like, the depth and all that, and the rings and stuff, but it uses a different adapter. So for 2 years, it's like they did a few things with the, you know, the Canva system and you know, some of the plugs here that are just different, that don't work for most of the other stuff that's on other bikes or can fit in other bikes. And that's a thing that just kind of drives me nuts with this year. And so it's just things like that. It's also, for example, they sell the visor rings for the headlights for the passing lamps, but you can't get a headlight visor trim to match the passing lamps because they don't make it. And in that case, you actually can't get it for the Softail Heritage either. You know, but it's just things like that are just really, really frustrating about owning the M8, is that there's just a lot of things that you know, don't work. Now, mind you, you could still get a lot of stuff for this bike. I'm not saying you can't. I just mean, like, if there's certain floorboards from Harley that you want, like I have the Empire floorboards right now, which they're sick as hell. I love these things, man. But it wasn't my first choice. There was another one that I wanted, and which I think actually may still fit, but Harley says they don't fit. And if that's the case, they probably don't fit, which means you got to buy a different, the actual mounting piece for it, you'd have to buy something different. But yeah, I don't know. It's just things like that that is the only thing that really frustrated me about this bike. And like I said, it's not the bike itself, it's more or less the fact that, you know, owning this bike, because it was only produced for 2 years, there's just not the highest amount of parts to support this bike, and that's the hardest thing. But that does not bother me in the sense where I would, like, you know, consider selling this thing or getting rid of it just for that reason. Because like I said, there's still a ton of parts. You can do a ton of stuff to this bike. It's just, you'll notice that it's a lot harder. You got to look a lot harder to find the right stuff for this bike. That's all I mean. Because this is the 2018 to 2020 is an FLDE and not an FLSTN. And there is a lot of different mounting systems. For example, take lights. For example, there's they use a different connection for the lights and stuff. So yeah, you just got to do your research, look a little bit harder, and you know, you will find a lot of stuff for this bike. It's just not as easy and not as accessible like you think it would be. Yeah, anyways, that's the only thing. Just wanted to kind of share that with some people, or with, you know, whoever's watching this and owns an FLD. And I'm sure you guys have experienced the same thing. You know, before you bought it, maybe you had an idea of like, oh, I'm going to put this on it, I'm going to put these and, you know, whatnot on it. And then when you get it, you're like, what do you mean this doesn't fit? You know, why can't I get this? You know, and it's just because you're thinking it's kind of the same. Why would they change these other little things, you know, like the floorboard mounts and stuff, you know? But yeah, anyways, that's pretty much it. This bike overall, man, is just such a good bike, and I can't wait. I got some Carlini 8-painters coming, and some fat spoke wheels from Ride Right coming soon. So I'm going to film all that, make sure I put that out to, which I've shared in another video. I've just been waiting. This made these videos kind of back to back, but yeah, I just can't wait to really get this thing hooked up the way I imagine it, and it's gonna be a slimmed down, kind of cleaner Vikla version. But I just can't wait. Man, this weather is just perfect right now for riding. Yeah, it's awesome. It just feels so good. Anyways, that's it. For anybody thinking about buying, you know, 2018 to 2020 Softail Deluxe, I still definitely recommend it because it's just a great bike overall. Now, here's another thing too. I will tell you, because I told you that I actually, well, maybe I didn't tell you in this video, but I purchased a cruise control for it, and I'm just waiting to put it on for, you know, when I do the bars and all that, which are coming this week. So after I put on the bars, I got new chrome housings, as well as the levers and all that stuff. So when I put on that is when I'll put on the cruise control. So I'm really excited about that. But I wanted to tell you that you can't find it on Harley's website. So what you'll have to do, this is another thing, this is the kind of shit I'm telling you about, is that if you go to try to buy it, you'll notice you can't order it anymore, because it's technically quote unquote obsolete or something like that. You'll see a lot of that stuff, you know, through Harley. Yeah, so there's a lot of parts out there for this thing that are available, but they're actually obsolete, which means you can't purchase it on the Harley website. And so what you have to do in those cases, you have to go to your local Harley dealership, and let's say you ask for the cruise control, for example. You'll have to have them do like what they call a part locator, and they search other stores to see if they have it, and you'll have to buy it through another store. So if you can't find something on Harley's website, usually that's the way to go. Just go into your local Harley dealership and see if they can find it for you that way. And that's the way I was able to find it, for this bike. But it's just things like that I thought would be easy to get, and it's not, especially because they don't make this bike anymore, and they haven't for the last 5 years, and especially because this thing was these bikes were only made for 2 years. So anyways, I think that's the last thing I had to say about this thing. But this bike is so nimble. It just feels like you could just whip this thing around so easy. It's got plenty of power, all the power you would need or want. And I love that. Actually, it's crazy. I thought, because from the Lowrider S I had, I thought coming from that as being a 117 and this being a 107, when I learned more about it, this has a much shorter stroke than the other engines, the other motors. And man, I actually really like the shorter stroke. It's peppy. You don't feel like you're losing torque. It feels zippy and fast. Even on the freeway, when you're going 70, 75, you got to get up to 90 to pass a car or something like that. It just goes. It's got all the power you need. And I think for these bikes, these 107s, especially on a smaller Softail frame like the Deluxe and the Heritage too. I think the M8 Heritages, did those ever have 107s? I don't know if those were always had the 114s when they came out with the 108. I mean, with the M8, I'm not sure. But I can say that the 107 is just a great motor, and I'm sure if you put like the Fueling 465 Reaper cam in there, which I think they said they still has a shorter stroke than the other ones, which is a perfect fit for this bike. I mean, it's just going to be that much better also, that much more powerful. But man, I'm being honest, like, you really don't even need to put a cam in this thing because it just already sounds good. I think even at idle, and like I have the Vance and Hines big radius pipes on here, these things perform great. I just cut the cat out and it just performs excellent. No complaints with this thing whatsoever in the power plant department, just none. It's just really, really nice. And I think the gears are ratioed really well. I mean, it's 6-speed. It just really has everything you need. But yeah, as like I was saying before, with all that being said, I definitely recommend this bike. Like I said, the only thing that sucks is sometimes when you're trying to find some custom parts for this bike, they are going to be either limited, hard to find, obsolete, which I told you how you can find them, or you might just have to get creative in some areas. But like I said, regardless of that, that's just for some things. There are still a ton of options for this bike, so don't get discouraged in that department. I'm just letting you know that that's one thing that does suck. If you've ever owned other Harleys, or like I said, I had a 23 Lowrider S, you could find anything for that bike with ease, you know what I mean? You just didn't have to look. It's just, there's so many parts out there for that thing, it's insane. For those Lowrider S's and STs. But yeah, so that's all I really have to say. I'll kind of cut it here, but yeah, that's it for, just wanted to talk about some points for the FLDE, and shout out to anybody else that owns one, and I'm sure you love it just like I do. It's kind of hard not to like this bike. I mean, you really have to try to not like this bike, and it just looks amazing. So anyway, guys, that's it. I'm gonna tap out here, and well, not tap out, we never tap out, but I'm gonna call it here, and we'll see you in the next video. I'm gonna try to be more consistent with the videos, but I'm very new to this, the full-time job also, so yeah, we'll just kind of see how it plays out. But anyways, hope you guys have a great night, ride safe, and we'll catch you next time. Peace.